Hello, everybody, and welcome to our final episode of Shift Tracking Our Local Real Estate Market, 900,000 and below Burlington, Camden, and Gloucester counties for 2023. Now, as we get into this week, we are going to talk about what happened this year. What happened? It was a weird year for politics. It was a weird year for home sales. It was a weird year for just about everything. Inflation. So, what I want to do here is obviously our December averages are in. We've updated all of our graphs to really tell us what happened this year. And if you're watching me here, you obviously can see right above my face, there is a very specific percentage number. And if you're listening audio only, we'll get to it. But that is probably the biggest story of what happened this year. So let's talk. Let's talk just specifically this week. Our total active listings are way down again. Our new listings were by far one of the lowest that we've had all year. The pending as well, and closed was okay, but new listings and pending were really low. I'm not all that surprised, nor am I all that shocked. That's fine. This week, I'm going to take basically the past 2 weeks, I'm going to take almost no statistical inference from because it's the holiday weekends. You can't take this as a standard going forward. But we also saw that expired, withdrawn, and canceled, lowest they pretty much were all year. Price reductions were nominal but small. The two that have significantly jumped up were the average days on market and median days on market. So we'll take a look at that in one of our averages graphed. And our median list price came back down slightly. Again, I'm not taking a whole lot from this week specifically. It's Christmas week, it's the end of Hanukkah week, it's getting ready for New Year's week. Everybody's kind of either off work, doing a vacation, doing something with family. People don't want to have to move at this time of year. People don't want to have to add a lot to their plate this time of year. So I am going to move off of that. But let's talk about what did happen. And we're going to kind of tell this story through the lens of, I'm just going to put myself on Do Not Disturb here. We're going to take a look at this through the lens of what happened each month. So let's just start in no particular order here. Let's start with total active listings, right? So where did we come from? We had a lot in the beginning of the year, around 1,500. Then we went through the big inflation. The big inflation happened for across everybody. Everything got more expensive, and it put just this massive crunch on people. People were not ready to go out and start spending a lot on housing when everything else around them increased in price. So I'm actually not surprised to see what we saw. We saw from January to February to March to April, we lost almost 30 to 40% of all the active listings on the market. People froze. People didn't want to put their listings on the market, the ones that were kind of sold, but nobody came back on the market. So that happened all through coming into April. Now, we saw once that started to settle down a little bit, the inflationaries got curbed down, and that was because we started to see interest rates really rise up. So in this same time period, we saw interest rates really start to come up, and that did help to curb some of that pricing. So if we move down one graph, we can see in our average median list price, right? We were at a low list price, and then at the same time that we lost all those listings was the same time that our price really started to shoot up. And it lags just a bit behind, so you can see we really hit sort of our pricing max in June, which was about 2 months after we hit our lowest total active listings number in April. So that makes a lot of sense too, in that, hey, when we didn't have a lot to look at, interest rates were still like in the sixes to low sevens, people were still buying, and that price shot right up, okay? But then what happened as we moved forward? Well, the interest rates started to get much, much, much higher. I mean, we weren't talking about the low sixes anymore. We're talking about the low sevens, and even getting up. I think we peaked in, I believe it was right at the end of October. We peaked at almost like 7.8%. I had somebody get quoted at over 8% for a slightly lesser credit score interest rate at that point in October. So the interest rate increase did one thing. It really helped put a pause on the price increases. So that from the what we wanted the interest rates to do, at least from me looking at this, Fed can have all of its own reasons for why they do things. But for me, taking a look at how it affected us here on the home front, it really helped to curb our prices. We've had nice stable prices since June. We've had a good stable of prices since June. We've hovered between 338, eclipsed 340, 345, a little bit down in December 338. But for the most part, we've basically stuck right about 340 for the last 6 to 7 months of the year. So that's great. And it added a lot of consumer confidence back into the fray. And that's what allowed our average total active listings to start to increase again. Once we found some price stability, people actually knew what the heck they were getting. Because remember, people aren't just selling, they're selling and buying. And so they want to know, okay, I'm sure I could get a decent price for my sale, but what am I buying? And that was the conversation. It was, I don't know where I'm going, so I don't know if I can list my home, right? That was reasonable. The other conversation was, I can't list my home because I can't afford a home even close to what this is, and we're supposed to be upsizing, right? So that was the other problem, was that people couldn't afford getting into a new house. Let's take a look at some of these other ones, though. Let's take a look at price reductions. So price reductions and average total listings, they kind of go hand in hand. And you can see that. We started a little high. We troughed out sort of in that April through June area. And then we started ramping up back up again once we had more total active listings. So this was reasonable to see. I think, could we have gone a little bit deeper and seen that the percentage changed month over month in each one and how that affected? I don't think that was overly helpful for describing sort of the narrative. But it's interesting to see that, yes, while we had more listings, price reductions were up. That's great. The average days on market, though, is interesting. So the average days on market fell all the way through really October. I mean, you had a little 55, 58, 57 in August, September, October, but your average days on market, they came sliding down well through that average total active listings period and where the price reduction started to rebound. Those started rebounding in April, May, and June, but days on market was still falling down. And that I attribute more to a summer market. During the summer market, we had from basically, I would call it from about April through the early October period. I know that's extending it a little bit, but that's really kind of the heyday of selling season here in South Jersey. You had a lot of buyers out still at that point. Interest rates were okay. They were pretty high, but people were still interested. But really, we haven't seen the drop off until it became November, December, until you really went kind of post Halloween. Okay, now Thanksgiving's just around the corner. Okay, I didn't want to do anything between Thanksgiving and Christmas or Hanukkah or New Year's. Okay, so I'm going to kind of fall off then. So I think, I actually think all of this data makes sense. It makes sense based on what we saw this year, how the year went, the conversations that were happening nationally, locally, the things that we were paying attention to. I don't really believe that there was almost anything inside of our data set that we completed this year that came out of left field. And I think that's because we were tracking it weekly. We did this every week, so we weren't surprised by a month jump here or there. But let's kind of end with this. Let's end with this. How is this year different from last year? Well, last year in 2022, and again, in Burlington, Camden, Gloucester County, 900,000 below, I pull all these stats direct from our MLS. There were 17,563 homes that sold in 2022. Okay, 17,563. This year, 13,764. So what was the overall reduction in number of homes sold in 2023 compared to 2022 as a percentage? It's 21.6%. There were 4 out of 5 homes sold this year as compared to last year. 4 out of 5. We had a 21% reduction in the amount of homes sold this year as compared to last year, right? There was just less. There were less people that bought and sold. And why is that? Well, I think we have to come back to the biggest number one thing that's driven so much of our conversations. It's interest rates. Interest rates last year were 5 into the 6s ish. This year, they were 6s into the high 7s. Right there. Right there. You drag those interest rates up from a 5 and a 6 up to a 6 and a 7, and you've lost 20% of all the home sales. It's just what happened. It's the stats. It's the math. It doesn't lie to us. This is actually what happened this year. So that's going to do it for this year. And I appreciate everybody following along. If you're only able to watch 1 or 2 videos, or if you were able to watch all of them, I doubt that. But it's not meant for you to watch every single one. It's meant for when you need good real estate information, you know where to tune into. I hope all of you a wonderful end of your year. I hope everybody got what they wanted this year. And I hope we all take a look at next year. And if there's anything that I can share from my personal life to you, the thing that really helped me this year was that I worked with my coach, and we left no stone unturned in terms of organizing our life, from finances to relationships to home to work to everything. We just went that extra 10, 20, 50% in some areas of just being more organized. And the clutter and the cloud has all gone away because we got organized. And that's what I'll leave you with here for this year. When you're ready to do your home journey this year, let's get organized. Let's sit down. Let's make a plan together. And you may say, well, I want to do a little research before we sit and meet. And I get that. I also don't get that. What do you think I do? Why do you think I do it? The whole point of me is to help you with that. From I want to buy a house. That's all the information I need to help you. It doesn't have to be, I want to buy a house. I know exactly where I want to buy it. I know exactly what type of house. I already know what I'm pre-approved for. I already know all the process. I already know that stuff. Now can you help me? Yeah, you can do that. You're going to waste a lot of time. So when you're thinking about it, let's chat. Friendly conversations are the number one game in this. Not putting everything up on a pedestal is the name of the game for this. Not making this out to be some mountain that you can't climb is the name of the game of this. Find a local guide. It doesn't have to be me. I'd love to help you, but if it's not in my area, find the realtor soon. They are here as problem solvers. They love taking complex sets of data, distilling it into a plan for you to find a home. That's it. That's all we do. That's all we care about. Well, we care about more things, like the Eagles. But for the most part, that's it. All right, everybody, be well. Have a great end of your year. Have a safe and happy New Year's. And I will see you next week for Shift Tracker 2.0. Bye, y'all.